again, you are in the Outlook for Admin session. Thank you very much for being here again. Because this is going to be recorded, if you want to turn your camera off or on, you can do so. I will be hanging out with my camera off for the most time so that Coulter can really have the whole stage for himself and his presentation. So I'm going to turn it over to him. If there are more people that join, that's great. And as always said, this is recorded, so if you know friends or colleagues that didn't have a chance to watch this live with us, you can absolutely send them to the registration page for this session so that they can get the recording. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Coulter and he will start our presentation.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. And hey, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. And I'm going to start sharing my screen right now. I'm also going to turn off some incoming video, but thanks again for being here. We have a nice little workshop. It's a nice intimate. You want something more clarified or just some more in-depth questions that you might have, feel free to just unmute your microphone as well and ask those questions. So I'm going to share my screen and should be up and running.
You're good to go. We can see it.
Perfect.
I can anyway. If you guys just want to let us know in that chat, you can also see Coulter's screen. That would be great.
Perfect. And yeah, so again, my name is Coulter Lewis, and I will be your guide today. We have Alex on the call from Montreal. She's going to be working through the chat in the back end here and also chiming in with some good old banter. Alex and I have worked together for the last 4 years. We were working with Microsoft for a little bit together, and it's always great to be on calls with her. So before we begin, though, I think it's really important that we do a quick little land acknowledgement. It's very likely you are participating from or near traditional territory land. Myself, I am on the Mississauga of the Credits people and their land, and on Treaty 13A. So it's important for me to recognize this land, and my knowing that I have the opportunity to present on this is important for me. And I encourage you to go to native-land.ca. It's a really nice, informative website about native lands, and maybe find out a little bit more information about the land that you're on. Quick shout out to Cobblestone Collective. They've set up our workshop for today. It's a pleasure to work with them, work for them. We are consultants for them, so it's really nice that we are able to collaborate and communicate with such a great community of educators from across Canada and North America, actually. A quick little shout out to Microsoft Canada as well for supporting this session. Without them and their support, we would not be able to be doing this. So thank you, Microsoft Canada. And we do have a little plan for today. I'm going to put this up on the board. We are just going to familiarize ourselves with Outlook, creating some folders, some rules, some calendars, adding contacts. I have some tips and tricks as well that I want to try to get in there. We'll gauge on where we're at with our time, and we'll see how much we can get done. But I do have some extra things to show you if we get through things pretty quick. But if we don't, I have this PowerPoint has got some things laid out for you as well, so feel free to reference that at your leisure. But in the chat, if you could do me a favor, if we could just start off, I got 2 questions for you. I just want to know what devices you're working on today. So are you on a PC? Are you on a Mac? Are you on a Chromebook? What kind of device do you normally work with? And with Outlook in particular, do you usually use the online version or the desktop version? And if you don't know, that's okay. But maybe just tell me what kind of device you're working on. What kind of computer are you on today?
Okay, Coulter, I see some of those answers coming in. And again, if you don't know where that chat space is, you're just looking for that little conversation bubble on your screen. It might be along the top, it might be along the bottom, just depends on what device you are working on. So the question was, number 1, what device do you currently use to work with? So is that a Chromebook? Is that a desktop? Is that a PC? Is that a Mac? Let me know what device you're using, and are you used to using Outlook online, going through the Office 365 portal, or are you used to using Office on the desktop? So Brigida uses her PC and she uses the desktop app. I see that Maggie is also typing. We're going to see what Maggie uses. PC laptop, and uses Office on the desktop as well.
Awesome.
So those are a few
great
answers.
So that's super helpful for me to know. And if you want to chime in at any time and just let me know as well, that's great. The reason I'd like to know this is because I'm working on a Mac today, so my visuals will be a little bit different. The plan was to go through the online version, but in the PowerPoint version, you're going to see, in the PowerPoint slides, you're going to see a lot of stuff that are coming from a PC. So we're trying to cover all the basics here. We're going to be doing it through a Mac, but all the slides are going to be on your PC. So you should have a very familiar Outlook. And if you get a little bit lost, please just let us know. Just say, hey, where can I find this on my PC? Because I can't see it. As I'm going to be trying to do things on the browser-based version along with my desktop Mac version. So the nice thing is that it is compatible to all of these, and they're very, very similar, and they look very similar. It's just a couple of different clicks. You might have to go to preferences as opposed to file. So some things just might be a little bit different with the lingo. So just keep that in mind. And if you do get lost, please don't hesitate just to let us know. So the first thing is we are going to go to portals.office.com and sign in there. This is just going to get you to your desktop or to your browser-based version. If you want to just start in your desktop, you can do that as well. That's not a problem. I'm going to go through my browser right now, and I'm going to start off in there. And just because it's going to definitely have a very similar feel for you. So if you want to head over to portal.office.com and sign in, you can. It'd also be great in the chat while we're doing that if you can let me know what you're teaching or sorry, what your role in education is this year. I know last call we had with some admin, we had a couple specialty teams actually on the call. So everyone is welcome into the call, but it's just always nice to know any specifics on what you're working with in education and your role in particular. So if you want to share that, that'd be great. And that allows me to sort of taper and talk to you specifically. So while you're just signing in, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and not stop sharing. I'm going to stop sharing that PowerPoint, and I'm going to move into my browser-based version. And we are going to go to Outlook. But a friendly reminder here for those that might be watching that don't have the desktop version installed, you can always install Office. So when you go to office.com and sign in, you have this install Office piece here. And you can install the desktop version of your Office 365 suite. So you can get a bunch of these tools for your desktop. And the reason you would do this is because there's just a few more added capabilities for the desktop versions. So you do have a couple more options. They do work really nice and seamless in the browser. But if you have an option to download, I encourage you to download and use those desktop versions. I definitely use PowerPoint a lot. I use Outlook. I use Excel in my desktop as well. So there's a few different tools that I like to use on my desktop because there's just a couple more capabilities that we can have. So head on over, install your Office desktop programs. From here, on the left-hand side, we have our handful of our Office suite. And if you click on the bottom, you can see all apps. So I can zoom in on that. So I clicked on that. I'm going to open it up, and it's just going to be a better view for me. So I can click on, there we go. And here is my Office suite. Okay, and today we're going to be working through our Outlook and our calendar. That's our main two things today. But we are going to start in our Outlook. All right. And the whole purpose of this workshop, I think, is just to make you feel more comfortable inside your Outlook and maybe give you a couple of tips and tricks that you might have not known was there. I know when I was building this presentation, I found a tip that I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I could do this. So you definitely have a few things, and they're always updating, right? They're always updating, like this Meet Now button. I mean, that's relatively new for me. I don't know, maybe I just never noticed it very well, but this Meet Now button is really nice and convenient there. I'm sure it's been there for a while, but when I was, cognizant about it and looking around, I'm like, oh, what is this? I didn't ever realize I could Meet Now inside my Outlook. So I feel like I should make sure that it's go. So once you've loaded your Outlook, once you're sitting there, we want to go into our system preferences. We want to actually go into our wheel. So the first thing we're going to talk about is just our layout and how we can change our layouts. If you're on the desktop program, you're going to have a button up here on the top right ribbon that you should be able to see a layout. I do have that in the slide deck here. Let me pull that up. So you should have the change display up at the top there, and you have some options to change your display. Now, if you do see the wheel, you can always click on the wheel for settings. You can also search your Outlook settings, but we're going to head into our settings. So no matter how you get there, you might actually have to go to the top ribbon there and click on maybe File, I believe, and then you should be, or on your View tab, sorry, you should be able to click on your View tab at the top. Pull that in there, right there. So for your View tab. I don't want to be switching back and forth, but I recognize that we do have a couple of you that are working on your PC desktop, so I will bounce back and forth between the screens if that's okay. Hopefully, if it doesn't make you dizzy or confuse you, it hopefully allows you to see what I'm talking about, not just listen to what I'm talking about.
I also just put in the chat there, Coulter, a link where you can find that create, change, or customize your view. So if you're trying to find it, doesn't matter what device you're on, that link will show you.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. So what we want to do is we just want to change our view to your personal preferences. So I'm actually going to click on View All Outlook Settings for me in my desktop or my browser-based version. And I'm going to get a bunch of these settings here. And the first one is going to be my layout. So the way I want to lay out my Outlook is personal preference. So I can show email as individual messages. I can show them by grouped conversations. The other day, I've got about 15 emails that came in on one thread, and we sort of went off on a tangent on one thing and then kind of came back. It would have been beneficial for me to see those as individual emails as opposed to a whole group, especially when I'm searching for things, because when I type in that individual's name, up pops our 15 messages, but it's in one message, and I've got to scan through all that. So again, personal preference on how you want to organize. I do personally like the newest on top, of course. And then as I scroll down, I have this reading pane. So where do I want to read the reading pane to appear? So I can change this as well. Sometimes I actually like it at the bottom. And when I click save, you'll see that my desktop reading pane here will look a little bit different. So now when I click on something, let's go my TELUS bill that came through. If you tell us, you can see that. So it all depends on how you want to set yours up, but I encourage you to just take a look at that real quick and just say, oh, I didn't know I could do that. And maybe you did know you could do that. That's great. And if you did, that's okay. You don't need to change that, but maybe you want to spend another 30 seconds here just scanning through the bottom here on how you might want to set or reset your Outlook up. Alex, you have a preference on how you set yours up?
Yeah, I definitely do not do conversations because that's how I lost all of my emails. Not that I lost them, I just couldn't find them when I wanted to find them. I like to just have them as individual messages. And then I usually have like the preview to the right so that I can kind of just quickly see the titles of the emails and then look at the right to see what the email content is about. Let us know in that chat space how your Outlook is set up. I know that on the desktop application, some people like to have a huge preview pane on the right, and then they just see the subject of the email. Sometimes people like to have the subject of the email plus like the first 2 lines on the left-hand side, and then when they click it, it opens it up big screen. So let us know in that chat space, what do you use as far as your layout for your regular Outlook?
Yeah, we'll just give you another 30 seconds. Just sort of, this is just an exploratory time. I just want you to make sure you're familiar with this. Some people aren't, some people are, and we'll move on in just a minute or two, but we'd love to hear how you actually like to set this up. It's nice to hear how Alex set it up too. I thought I might have been the only one that doesn't like the group messages and likes the individual messages. So I thought most people enjoy the.
It's so confusing if I have the grouped messages together. It's like it puts it in a thread, so then I can't just find an individual email. I have to go back to find like the first email that came in that thread to find anything else that I'm looking for. And for me, that just does not work. So if you get stuck in that, you can turn it off. I know that by default, it's on, that it organizes your messages by conversations on the web. and on the desktop Outlook. So make sure that you turn that off if that bothers you.
So you do have some other options there. Show sender images. I'm going to change this back here. Right. And then you have a couple other things at the bottom there with the date headers. You can choose that. And you also have the message reminders. Outlook can help you remind to reply or to follow up with messages by bringing them to the top of your inbox. So if you want those, sometimes they work well. I realized in my other email account that I have, I don't know if it was new to the program that I was using, but I started getting those and I started seeing those. So I think they can be helpful, but they can also be like, this was a rhetorical question. I don't need to respond to this. So it all depends on how you want to set that up, right? So I'm going to save this. It's going to go back and change my things, but we're going to spend some time in this settings piece right here. So if you're unable to access this, let us know because we'll get you there. But we are going to spend a few more minutes just going through our settings here. One thing I want to talk about is our compose and reply. This is just where we can set some basic settings around how we want to reply to our emails. We have our email signature if we want to do this. And then we can say automatically include my signature on new messages or on messages that I forward or reply to. So how often do you want those email signatures done? So a really easy way. I know when I first set this up about 5 years ago, it definitely looked a little bit different and was definitely a few more clicks. So this is really nice and user-friendly here, able to add this in. You can add pictures, images, text. You can even add links, which is quite nice. So however you want to add that email signature, Lewis, maybe you want to add a link here to my, whatever that may be. It could be my bio, it could be my LinkedIn. So maybe it's wix.com/Lewis. I don't know if that's the exact URL, but that would be my my website that I've created. And then we can add in, again, some images if you want. Grab images from your computer. You can grab them from an online source. So lots of different options here. It's important to know that's there. Again, use it as you see fit. You don't have to. I'm not going to add it in a picture right now. Then we can scroll down a little bit. And you have your message format, always show BCC, always show from. So again, these are personal preferences on how you just might want to organize this. So I don't want to spend too much time in here. I kind of just want to show you that this is where you can do this before we move on to creating some folders and some rules, because those are some things that you might need me to walk you through, where these are just sort of personal preferences. Okay, so this is where you would find them. Let me know if you have any questions. But the main part here for the compose and reply is that email signature. That seems to be the most practical. Okay, so I'm not going to actually save this for right now. And I'm going to move on to my attachments. Card. So here are my attachments. I have a few options. Again, personal preference stuff, but you can link some storage accounts. So if you have a Google Drive account that you have things in that you need to want to put into your Outlook email, you can link that. You have a Dropbox here. You have a few other options that just are storage accounts. Okay, so if you want to have something just easily accessible to put into your emails, you can check this out for files like and again, personal preference. Okay, but it's important that they're there. Now this is where we're going to get into some rules. So this is a few steps. Has anyone ever used rules before in their Outlook? Is this something new to anybody, or has Alex, have you used rules? I don't actually use rules.
Rules in my job at the moment. I have 2 accounts, and one is like a service account, and the other one is my own account. So I actually put a rule that says that anytime I get an email in that service account from a specific person, I want it to be forwarded to my other mailbox, because I check that other mailbox way more often. So I don't have the time to go and look at all the mailboxes all the time. So I do that. I also have created a rule in my real account that I use on the regular, that anytime an email that comes in from my boss, I automatically flag it as important, so that I know that when I'm looking at my mailbox, if it's flagged as important, I know that it's come from my boss and I don't need to do that on my own because I used to just flag everything so I wouldn't forget it. Now that does it on itself. So that's a really great one that I do. Culture, do you have any that you use?
So yeah, I was going to say I don't actually use rules until about a month ago when I started to realize I've got about 20 different email accounts now. And they used to be, one or two of them used to be just, here's my junk email whenever I sign up for whatever that may be, that new subscription or that new free trial thing. I always sent it to there. So I still have a Coulter16 at Hotmail that I started out in like 1998 that's still active. But you can actually set up rules in your Hotmail account too. So I'm now starting to send all my things to that Hotmail account just to keep bombarding it, and because that's the last one that I'll ever use, but I'm always going to have that there because it was my first Hotmail account. So I started using that forward emails one that you just mentioned. I really like that. I also have started to use that CC. If I'm ever CC'd, I get a color code it. So it really just helps support my email inbox just visually. When I see something, it's like, okay, well, I'm not the title on this, but I am CC'd. So, okay, it just gives me that perspective right away of even prioritizing what emails I'm going to be looking at and how to move forward and which ones I'm going to spend a little bit more time on throughout the day. So this is where, again, we're in our settings, and then I have my rules. So we're going to set up a new rule. So I'm going to click on Add Rule, and I'm going to title the new rule. So this one, since we were talking about forwarding, so let's just talk about forwarding. Okay, and don't worry, I'm going to do this twice, and I might even do it in my Mac as well on my desktop. But I'm going to add a condition. So when I click on forward, so I just titled it, and now I add a condition. It's really nice because it's only 3 steps that get us there. And it's going to say, I've got a bunch of options. So I'm going to forward anything from, and let's say it's from TELUS.com, because that was popped up, TELUS.com. Okay, so anything from my TELUS.com, not my, where did that email come from? All right, you know what? I'm going to just do this just to have some fun. Anything from Amar, our colleague Amar. Anything from Amar is going to be, there's my condition. So then I can select an action. So anything from Amar, and here's my action, is going to be forwarded to, or I can move it to, and I'll do this a few times, right? But I can forward this one. I'm going to forward anything from Amar to Alex, just to bombard Alex's email. So now, when I save this, any email that automatically sends from Amar gets right pushed to Alex. So I could do this with, like I said, that TELUS account. I could do this with my parent emails, maybe. I could do this with staff emails. So if something came from the superintendent, I can make sure that email gets pushed out to other colleagues as well. So I can, once I save this, you can see here my rules. It's at the top there. That's what it was titled, forwarding. And it says if the messages were received from Amara Quill, forward messages to Alex and stop the processing more rules on this message. So as soon as I send that, or as soon as I save this, this is now what's going to happen. So I'm going to delete this one, and we're going to set up another one. And then I'm going to give you a chance to set one up yourself. Okay. So this one is going to be, I've already set one up, but we're going to call it CC'd emails. Okay, my condition, I'm going to select a condition, and it's going to say I'm on the CC line. Okay, so I'm on the CC line, and I'm going to add an action. And this action, I've got a few of them. I can move them to a certain folder, and we'll talk about folders, and we'll bring it back on, we'll tie it all in together with our folders. But I can do a few different things. I can categorize. When I click categorize, I can now select a category and color code it. So anytime I'm on the CC line, I'm going to get a green categoried email, and I can run the rule now. So once I click on that run the rule, anytime moving forward, to stop processing more rules, that just means that if I add another condition, that it basically, if you can double up on the condition basically, and if it hits one of them, basically, if I say a subject includes, let's say subject includes holidays. All right. Now, if I stop select an exception, so I don't need to do those right now, but I can do stop processing more rules. So if I click on that, as soon as I'm on the CC line, it doesn't actually have to include holidays. Now, if I do that, it has to have me on the CC line and have holidays in the subject for it to be color coded. Okay, so I just want it to be like that though with my CC line, and that's it. Okay, so there's a little more info about processing more rules. It basically just means, do you want all your rules to take effect, or you only want their first rule to take effect? All right, and when I'm ready, I click save. Okay, so I'm going to give you a minute or two. Let's give you 2 minutes. I want you to create your own rule. You're going to create your own rule, and it can be really simple, and we might even revisit this in a little bit because we're going to add some folders, and maybe when you create your new rule, this might be, so Emily is my boss, and we're going to say Emily, and we're going to add a condition, and it's going to be from, and it's going to be Emily at Cobblestone Collective. Okay, and we'll use that address, and I'm going to select an action, and I'm going to move this, and I'm going to select a folder. And there's the admin example that I created today. So any emails from Emily are going to get moved right into a folder for me. I'm going to run the rule now. So I'll give you about 2 or 3 minutes. Just put a little timer on, and I want you to create a rule. Let me know if you have any problems. We can definitely help you out.
I think this is definitely an underrated function in Outlook that a lot of people don't have the habit of doing or taking the time to set up. But if you actually just invest like a few minutes or an hour into creating some really great rules, it can completely help take part or like remove some of that Outlook organization time. I think that so many people spend time in their Outlook just moving folders, setting tasks that come from specific people, and the option to use the rules in Outlook, if you just invest that time in at the beginning, really gets you automated, and then you lose less time overall. So I think that once I started using rules, I really realized how productive and how helpful it is for me in keeping myself organized. Like, I know on the desktop app, if someone says, like, if the word in the email says, does this time work for you? It proposes me a meeting invitation. So it's like, okay, I've already know that I don't need to do that part of it. As soon as I open it, I get that suggestion to create an event from that. So things like that are really, really cool in rules, and it's kind of worth it to take that little extra time to do it.
So we'll give you about 1 more minute. Finish up your rule. Note you can always go back and edit these when you click on rules. If you are using a Mac and you have your Outlook here, you can click on Outlook, Preferences, Rules. And you can see it's already even synced, which is quite nice. And I can always add a new rule here. So it looks a little bit different, but the same ideas. So again, that was in my Outlook button at the very top under Preferences. Okay. So if there's any questions, feel free to unmute or type in the chat. Let us know. But what I quickly just want to go over here again while we're in our settings, and we'll spend the last couple minutes in our Outlook here in our settings real quick, just going through a few of these options here. You do have a message handling option here, so you can click on that. And once it loads, you'll get some options that, again, will just help you organize that inbox of yours, right? So you can click on empty deleted items from the folder. Sorry, empty my deleted items folder, yes. And so you can always do that whenever you sign out. So it just will clear that out for you and get rid of that so you don't have to think about that again. You can do your marked as read, how you want to set that up. You also have your read receipts. Oops. You also have your read receipts and your translation options as well. So there's a nice accessibility tool here for you, where if you always want to translate right away, you can ask me before translating. And you can also translate messages from English, and you can choose specific languages. Okay, there's a handful of them for you. All right, so that's your message handling. Again, important to know that it's there. Personal preference, though. You have a forwarding option. Oops, discard. Forwarding. So you have a forwarding. You can forward your email to another account. So that's a rule, but you also can do this just really quick. So enable forwarding, forward to my email. So basically you're setting up a backup email. Don't have to do this. Again, important to know that it's there, that you can forward your email to another account as well. So you always have backups. And then you have your automatic replies. Super important if you're going to be out of the office. Things like that. Really super convenient and easy to find. This is just your turn on automatic replies. Click on that. I'm sure some of you have done this before, but in my opinion, they've made it so much more user-friendly than in the years past. So some updates here just to make it that much more simple for you to set up a out-of-office reply. Okay, so you set your time here, send replies only during that time, and send replies to my contacts only if you need to. Okay, so that is your quick little rundown of your settings. You have a few more options there that I encourage you to take a look at, but these are the ones that I thought were valuable for today. We're going to discard this, and we're going to get over our settings. Okay, and now we're quickly just going to set up some folders here. It's just important to know, and that goes back to those rules that we talked about, that if you click on a new folder, so on the left-hand side here, I have these options right down below, right? And it's just setting up some folders. Just really easy. I did the admin example, but this one can be just Coulter's. Oh, we can just do one from Emily. Emily's messages. Emails. Okay. So it actually doesn't show there right away for some reason, but that's where it is. As soon as I refresh it, it pops up there for me. So this is just creating a new folder. Really simple. I'm sure a handful of you might have already done this before. Just really nice to be reminded that folders definitely help with your organization. And now that you know how to do rules, you can send your emails into specific folders. So really nice. An example of one, actually, now that I think about my folders that I have set up on my other personal account, I have Home Depot being forwarded into my tax receipts. So I can claim my Home Depot receipts, because Home Depot it actually works great. If you don't shop at Home Depot, highly recommended based on the organization that they have for purchases and returns, because everything is attached to your credit card. They send you an email with your receipt, and it goes automatically into my receipts for my tax returns. So when I'm ready to claim, I just click on that folder and they're all there for me. So really nice and easy. So here's that folder that I've created. Now, when I click on it, and I can right click There might even be 3 dots there for you, but then you have some settings for that specific folder. It's just taking a second to load here. There's that little endless wheel. If I want to favorite this, since it's there, I can favorite that. It's just going to bump up to the top. Okay, and so when I right-click, I can create some other things. I can create that subfolder. Okay, so maybe that subfolder might be Emily's emails, and it might be workshops, or it might be expense reports, things like that. So I can do some things with that subfolder. I can delete it, empty. There it is. Those are your basic ones, right? We can always move it. We can assign a policy if we want as well. So this is nice if you want to assign a policy. Just again, looking at cleaning up our Outlook and just trying to keep things organized so I don't have 5,000 emails that are 10 years old. I also think of this sometimes, and I have a tough time deleting emails. I don't have a tough time throwing things out. I'm not a hoarder at my house, but I have a tough time deleting emails. I always think, oh, maybe I'll use this later. And then 5 years later, it's still sitting there, and it's like, wow, I've never needed this. But I've always felt like my hoarding is not possessions, it's emails. So I've got years and years of emails down there. So assigning this policy is just something that I know has helped me out. Even just the 5-year delete, if I don't touch it for 5 years, it's gone. And so that might be helpful to you. It might not be, but it's important to know that it's there. And if you want to start looking at cleaning things up and cleaning your inbox up, this might be one of those steps that will help you, because you can just set it and forget it. I don't know if anyone ever watched the KonMari things with her getting rid of things. I've only seen a few clips. My mother's showed me a few of them, and it's like, well, how does this make you feel? How does this email make you feel? Does it bring you joy? I don't think we need to do that with emails. But,
I don't think many emails bring us that much joy, unfortunately. But maybe having
I don't think it's the right question.
Will.
Yes, I don't think that's the question that we need to ask ourselves. I think it's maybe, will I need this email in the future? How do I see myself like using this? And maybe you put that into a folder. And then maybe this is like your pre-deleted folder stuff, and then you have that set, this policy set that after a year of this folder, you can just delete it all and it's all gone. Right? So maybe you set that up and you slowly get better at deleting emails, because I know personally that's an issue for me. But man, it feels good. Look at that, 580 items. I tell you, that feels good to get rid of some of those things. And then eventually I just want to delete them all, right? So. And get them all out of there. So that's just your email folders, and just some quick settings for that. Real simple, real easy. Let me know if you have any questions on that. But with our remaining time, I did want to spend a few minutes going through our calendars, because that is located within our Outlook settings as well. So on my inbox, or on my my browser-based version. And again, I'm using my browser, so you can see that I'm using it because it's at the top. You can see I have the email address at the top there. I can always click on this little calendar here. So I can click on the calendar. It might be at the bottom for you. It might be in a little different location, but it's gonna be the calendar icon. So just a couple quick things with our calendars. And then I kind of want to expand into what a board is, because I think a board really helps with our organization as well. And let's just load, but I'm sure I'm assuming, which I shouldn't, but I'm assuming that a few of you have probably already made events. Oh, I'm already in a board. That's not what I wanted. Let me go back to my month. So I got my month calendar up. So there's a preview of the board that we're going to talk about. I don't know if you've ever used those before, but we'll talk about what a board is in a little bit. So this is a pretty empty calendar. I haven't added too many things here. This is my sort of play around account that I get TELUS to send me emails to. So this is just my calendar, right? This is my basic calendar. It's really important to know that you can add calendars, right? We can add a calendar, and they've done a few things with your calendars. You can add your sports shows, you can add your holidays, you can add your TV shows if you'd like. You can upload from a file. You can subscribe from the web if you have anything, any calendars from there. But if you want to add a personal calendar, you can add personal calendars. Okay, so I'm going to select a personal account, and I'm going to sign into my personal account, and it's going to add in that account. So it's now created my personal calendar with my work calendar, so it just helps stay organized a little bit differently. And I can also sync my Google Calendar to this if needed. Okay, because I know that we're all working on different devices. Like I said, I've got probably 20 different email accounts. I got a Google, I got a Yahoo, I have my Hotmail still, which is Outlook, but I have all that stuff. So I'm sure I'm not the only one that has a bunch of these. So it's just nice to know that you can sync them all into your Outlook, which is super convenient and helpful, especially if you're working on your mobile device. Because I look at my mobile calendar and I pull it up and I can see everything from my 3 different calendars that I have synced in my Outlook or in my device. So nice and convenient to do that. One thing I can do is I can share my calendar. Okay, so I have calendar permissions here, and I can share my calendar. And so it's important to know if you create a calendar, maybe that calendar is school holidays. Maybe it's special events for the year. So I want to share that out to everybody, or a directory. I want to share that out to parents. I can enter an email or a group that I've created, and I can send that and forward that out. So again, what I've done is, let's just click on that calendar. And then I have that sharing and permissions.
I know so many people that work in the school space culture that do this and share their calendars with the principal, or the principal shares it with the admin, so that if anybody needs to put any events in, or if the admin at the school is doing a bunch of different events, that they can actually just put that into the calendar for the principal. It's a really great way, and many people don't know that they do that. You don't even have to delegate or like add them into your mailbox anymore. You can simply choose who you share it with. So it's a really great practical way of doing it.
Yep, awesome, Mal. Thanks. So that's your calendar. That's one way that we can share things. Again, if you click on the 3 dots, your little Timbits next to your calendar, so I just hover my mouse over top of it. You can choose any of them. Let me choose Amar here. Okay, so I've got Amar. I can move to other calendars or people's calendars. I can move up and down, change the icon, change the color if I want to change the visual representation on the calendar. So you'll see right now he's got the 4 p.m. On Tuesdays across the board. And now as soon as I change that, it's all gone to red now. So just visually, I can do this really nice and easy. But if I don't need them, I can just remove. Or I can, if I don't want him on the screen, I just click on that check mark. I don't need to see birthdays. But now I got the Buffalo Bills there. They're only on Sundays. I recognize that. I don't need to know that. So I can delete or rename. So I'm going to remove. I'm just going to remove that calendar. So I set up the Buffalo Bills calendar. And there it is. It's deleted. It's done. Okay, so really easy way to set up your calendars. Nice way to share them. Just wanted to show you that. And now that we're talking about our calendars, sharing things, we want to set up a new event. We're going to set up a new event, or a new meeting, I guess. Event and meeting, I guess, have different terms, right? We're going to have a meeting, usually incorporates other people, right? So this one is just going to be, let's just call it an admin chat. Admin chat. Okay, so for my admin chat, I can invite some attendees. So let's put Amar in there. Let's get Alex in here as well. Okay, and really nicely, it has these suggested times that everyone's available. I could also click on the scheduling assistant, and I can see this scheduling assistant. So really easy way for us to organize a meeting between 3 people that's going to be convenient for everyone. Now, this calendar is open. It's pretty easy for us to find a spot. But imagine you had, your 2 or 3 admin supportive staff that you're working with, and they've got full days. So this is a nice way that you can use this to recognize a available time slot, and you can add rooms here. Okay, so you can find different rooms where you want to meet, or when you finally find the time, I'm going to click on done. Okay, we're going to click on that time here. There it is. And I can actually add a meeting, a Teams meeting. So when I click on Teams meeting, it adds a link for us. You've clicked the links before, I'm sure, that's just an easy way that we do this in our Outlook. And I'm all done. I can write a note, I can add a link or an attachment if I need to attach something from my cloud, maybe. Let's choose something from the cloud, or I can choose something from my my desktop. Really nice, easy ways to just keep organized. Let's just use this one here. Shares OneDrive link or attaches a copy. I get those two options. Okay, so we're going to attach as a copy. Okay, and there it is. It's a nice PowerPoint attached, and I just send off this meeting. Okay. So we have these options here now that I've got this calendar set up. You can see that there's the link. There's already a link there. I can click on that, and it opens up this little option here, this little box, and I can edit the event. So let's just click on edit the event. So the first thing is that I want to create the event, and then I can edit the event. And now I can do a few different options here as well. I can change the time, things like that. But if I click on these three dots, I can even add it into a OneNote. I can make it a template. Okay. I also have some response options for these things, hide attendee list. Okay, things that just might be important for you to see, just so you know you have options here. Okay, and then for the actual meeting, if you did create a meeting, you have your meeting options right here. So I can click on meeting options. Once it loads, you're gonna get some meeting options for that Teams meeting that you're gonna have. So just who can participate, who can attend, who can share their screens, things like that. So just some basic options. I'm not sure why it's not loading for me, but it's important for you to know that they're there. Whether or not you need to use them, especially if you're working with colleagues that are familiar to you, you probably can just leave them as is, right? So that is your scheduling assistant. There's your creating a new event. Now I just want to quickly talk about, once you do that, what we can do with this for our personal use and how we can organize our upcoming days, I guess you would say. So right now I have this in a month view. My calendar is in a month view. And on the top right here, I see month, but I can do a few different things. I can go day, work week, or a board. So if I click on board, I can click on the default board. I've already started building one, but I can always create a new board. Something's slowing the computer down. Let's slow it down. Oops, that's what's slowing it down. I think I accidentally clicked on a file. There we go. Here's my board. Okay, so I've created this board for today, and this is sort of what it looks like for my upcoming days. So I've got two calendars already put into this board. Now, if I had more events, it might look a lot more full, right? But what I can do is I can also add tasks. So I need to organize an intro activity. I can add another task here, and that might be plan welcoming speech. Okay, I'm just trying to think of some ideas here. We need to attendance, role. Okay, so we have a few of these tasks here. And I can always remove them, or as soon as I click them, we can favorite them as well, put them to the top, and we mark that as important. But we can also, as soon as I click that, and mark it as complete. And now that it's complete, it's gone, it's out of the way. So I can take those and just make it really easy for me. Okay, so this board is just a nice way that I can see things that are up and coming in the few days ahead of me. It's basically just a shrunk down calendar, but now I can see things that I'm going to be using all the time. So I might have this attachment here. So I've actually added this attachment. It's the same one I added earlier to the meeting, but you can see here I've got that attachment there. But if I wanted to, I can always add an attachment as well. So I can add to board, and if I clicked on show all, I've got all these options to add to my board. So I need to add a location or a person or some tips I need to do. I can always do that, or I can add some more files. So again, it's just organizing myself inside of my Outlook. Let's do this one. Okay, and I'm just organizing myself, and it just pops it right there for me. I have easy access to this. So it's really nice, really convenient. The board is something new to me for the most part. But I think that when you start using this and getting habitual with it, that you're going to see that your just organization of your day and whatever events you have in those calendars. So you can always take off calendars as well. You can add a new calendar to it as well.
Yeah, I love that, Coulter. I think that this is one of the new features I think that's available in Outlook online. And for those people that are like visual, and there are people that like to have a kind of like a whiteboard that they pin things to, this is nice because this is obviously a whiteboard that kind of goes with you wherever you are. So if you're one of those visual organizers where you like to see the events, you like to have the links to the meeting that go with those events, it's great that you can stick it all in one place. I've seen people use this who organize like extracurricular activities. So they've got a calendar just for the school's extracurriculars, and then they've got all of the information that's relative to that, because you can have multiple boards. So I think this new feature is really, really cool.
Yeah, I think this is a great little option for you. And once again, you get into it, you get into that habit, and you start making your board, your calendar, it's just going to seem that much better. I think with all the research and the effort to produce something like this, they've recognized, Microsoft has recognized, okay, this is something that people need and people want, so let's produce it. So that's what they've done, and they've created this for you. So I encourage you to maybe have about 2 more minutes before we wrap up. Just to go into a board. So create a new board. So what I've done, again, in my Outlook, I have some options in the top right. In my calendar, sorry, my Outlook calendar. I have some options here in the top right. And it's also really nice that I can see that I have some things here with that attached file that's coming up in 1 hour and 8 minutes. Those reminders. Sorry, I just got excited there for a second. So with that month there, I click on the month. It says month because that's what I'm on. It might say day, it might say work week, it might say the week. But then you have that option for a board. Okay, so I'm going to click on board. I'm going to click on new board. I'm going to title this new board. And this one could be, let's go first week of October. And I'm going to create this new board. Okay, and then I'm going to head into my boards. And where did my board go? Ah, there it is. First week of October. Oh, I've already created it. Sorry, I've already created this one. And I titled it a little bit wrong because it's not necessarily the first week of October. I have to separately move those dates to make it the first week of October. So I think I titled that incorrectly. So you might want to just title this something more specific to your events that you're planning, or because it is essentially a big calendar, so it doesn't have to be a specific week of that. But if I want to make it that week, there it is. I can set this up. Here's my week for the first week of October. And then I can start adding tasks. I can take notes. On my notes, I have set due dates as well. I can color code it. I can also remove from the board as well. And I can resize it so if I want it to be bigger or smaller. It's essentially that whiteboard that Alex mentioned, right? So I have those options here. Let's get rid of this guy. Remove from board. There we go. Okay, and now I can have some things here. Again, creating those tasks, adding to the board, adding a task list if needed, adding some more notes, checking the weather if needed, adding some goals. Okay, so I'm going to give you about 2 minutes before we wrap things up. I just want to make sure that you're comfortable with this, and hopefully you can take off from here and feel comfortable setting up a board for your first time and using it, and then ideally continuing to use it. I wanted to click on. So let us know if you have any questions about your board.
So far, so good. Coulter looks like it's really clear, and I think people are able to see exactly how to use it. And again, don't forget that you have access to this presentation. Coulter has included all of this information on his slide deck, so you have access to that. And you will also be able to watch this recording back. So if you wanted to see again how things worked, or you're like, oh, you know, I don't remember all of the things I could put on the board, don't forget that this is recorded, so you can always go back and watch it.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. So yeah, the last thing, once I click on board, you can see I've got that arrow to expand it, and you can see that's the first one. That's the first week. There's my default. And as I create more and more boards, it'll be placed there for me. So I'll be able to see those boards there and be able to just click on that really easily and organize myself that way. So that does bring us to the end of our workshop for the most part. If you have any questions or comments or anything like that, please feel free to ask. Right now, we have a little bit of leeway time here. But if you are thinking about those questions, we do have, while you're thinking of those questions, if they're not come to mind yet, we do have some resources that I've shared with you, some additional resources for you to check out. It's in our, it's in the PowerPoint deck that I shared with you already, or that Alex has just put in the chat again. So feel free to check out any of those as well, as they're super helpful. I encourage you to grab the mobile devices, whatever device you're on, put that on your mobile device. It makes it so much easier sometimes to even just capture an image and put an image into your email. It's really nice and easy, so I encourage you to check those out. You also have an option to head to the Microsoft Education Center. Here you can actually put in the workshop code for today. So if you put in the workshop code, it does give you credits for your time, and you can gain additional PD resources as well. So I encourage you to head on over, type in the code, or sign in, type into the code, and redeem your points. This is also something that can help showing admin or anyone else that you've created some professional development over the school year. I believe in Ontario we call that a PLA, if I'm not mistaken. So it does. You are able to track. I believe it's a PLA. I wrote it down. ALP. I was close. Track your ALP. So yeah, this is a really nice way that you can do that, and it organizes all your badges and all your information in one spot. So if you did sign in and you can redeem your code, that's the way to go. You just click on that top right. You'll see your name, and it's going to ask me to sign in. And then just put in that code, and you can see that you'll begin to gain points and badges and certificates, and it's a really nice way to continue furthering your learning through Microsoft tools. You can always come here as well to find out more information. Say you want to find a little bit more information about like Microsoft Teams. You can click on training, courses, and then search for that option about Teams, or search for that learning path about and it doesn't necessarily just have to be a program. It can be about 21st century learning skills. And you can see about 14 results for 21st. So lots of cool different options here. I encourage you to go and check the website out. Feel free as well to, if you have any questions, to reach us at help@cobblstonecollective.ca. Send us an email. We're super happy to help you out. It doesn't have to be about Microsoft. It can be about anything. You're part of our community now since you've taken a workshop, so feel free to jump on that and send us emails. And we'd also love to hear your feedback. What can we improve on? What can we do better? What can we do to reach your needs specifically? Feel free to send some feedback in. We'd love to hear it, and we really appreciate your time coming out today. Thank you so much for being here. The recording will be sent out, and you can always rewatch this if you need it. And again, we really value your time, so thank you so much for being here, and we hope you have a great day and continue working hard and get through the school year. I know it's just September, but let us know if we can help you along the way.
Thanks so much, Coulter. I'm going to stop the recording now. I'm just going to stop